Hi, welcome back to Carla B Music and Reviews. As promised, another new week, another new video. This week we're going to change it up quite a bit, being the 13th of April. We're going to talk about artists that were born on the 13th of the month. As sooner or later in their lifetime, they obviously have hit a Friday the 13th. Everybody seems to have to live through those, and I'd imagine being born on the 13th, it might be a little bit more miserable, thinking something's bad's going to happen to you. But as you can see, we're taking a drive today. We're actually in the Albuquerque area. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk to you a little bit while we're driving down the road here. Okay, does that sound good? All right, I hope you stay with me and listen to the stories about the people here. The first guy we want to talk about is a guy born on January 13th by the name of Trace Atkins. In case you didn't know him, he's a country singer. He's probably involved with every Wounded Warrior project that you could probably get your hands on. He seems to be a decent guy. I don't know him personally, of course, but you never know what a person is really like until you get to know him, right? Second guy is Peter Gabriel. Genesis did some solo stuff in the 80s. Sledgehammer, to be exact. Some of you in my generation ought to know him pretty well. Some of you before me as well, with the Genesis. Henry Rollins. You usually see him doing some crazy garbage with some kind of military vehicle, bouncing people around, torturing them. He's been more of a speaker than anything. He was born in February too. Let's see, the bassist for U2, Adam Clayton. Well, that guy's looking really old. Have you seen pictures of him lately? Man, well, I think we're all getting old. That gray hairs every day, they get a little bit thicker and thicker, right? He was born on March 13th. Then we move on to Max Weinberg. Remember him, the drummer from Springsteen Band? He was also in, I think, the Late Night Show. Drummer, been around forever. Everybody knows him. He was born on April 13th. Joe Brown. Joe Brown was famous for guitar playing and ukulele. You can see him perform on the Concert for George. He does I'll See You in My Dreams. It's put together pretty well. If you listen to a lot of live stuff, that's where you can listen to him. He was born on May 13th. Richie Valens. Remember Richie Valens from La Bamba? Yeah. He was born in May as well on the 13th. Lou Marini, saxophone player from the Blues Brothers. You see him on Saturday Night Live in the 70s versions when they were good and worth watching. Blue Louie was in the Blues Brothers movie as well. Stevie Wonder, May 13th birthday as well. Stevie's been around forever. They used to call him Little Stevie Wonder. It's amazing. We're all getting old. Don Ho, Tiny Bubbles. There you go. Now you're talking. Tiny Bubbles. He was born on August 13th. There really wasn't anybody notable between May and August. Believe that? Born on the 13th. Couldn't believe it. Also on an August birthday is Dan Fogelberg, leader of the band. Most of us from the 70s and 80s know that. It was a regular radio standard. Danny Bonaducci. Now, come on now. Everybody's got to know who Danny Bonaducci is. A fake bass player, right? And there's all kinds of trouble. He's always fighting, that kind of thing. Partridge Family. For those of you Night Court fans, Mel Torme, born on September 13th. I don't ask me to do any Mel Torme. I can't do any Mel Torme. But I just figured I'd bring that up. Those of you that watch Night Court as well as I did remember Harry's fascination with Mel Torme. Peter Cetera is born on September 13th as well. Singer from Chicago, did a lot of independent stuff, or I should say, you know what I'm saying. Dave Mustaine. God, everybody knows him. I've seen him recently. Boy, is he looking old. He was born September 13th as well. Paul Simon. Simon and Garfunkel. He did a lot of solo stuff himself. October 13th. Aldo Nova. Those of you from the 80s know who Aldo Nova is. A song called Fantasy. Those of you guitar players out there ought to remember him. He's got the rarest guitar Gibson ever made in the Aldo Nova model. I'd love to have one myself, but they won't build them. So there ain't no sense of spending the money or trying to spend the money. Next up, we got Lou Adler. You ought to know who Lou Adler was, a record producer. Had his own record company. He was the one that brought out Carol Kane, Cheech and Chong. You ought to love him because you love Cheech and Chong, right? He was born on December 13th. Let's see, Jeff Skunk Baxter from the Doobie Brothers. Steely Dan, guitar player. He always wore like a oh crud, I can't think of the hat now. A beret, a black beret when he was playing. There you go. He was also worked for the government an awful lot. He was born December 13th. Ted Nugent, December 13th. You know who Ted Nugent is. I don't talk about him too much. Randy Owen from Alabama, the singer. He was born December 13th. But the guy I want to talk about today the most is Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar. Boy, that guy's been around forever, and if you see him on that rock and roll road trip, he don't look his age. I would never in a million years think that he's going to be 75 years old in October. I never would do it. He looks really good for his age. He came from an abusive home. He talks about that, you know, in some of the interviews where his dad was very abusive. He was alcoholic, and he was a boxer as well. Probably made him into a tougher human being than what he really wants to admit. But says he lived in 9 different homes in the L.A. area, the Southern California area, I should say. I can relate to that. Since we moved so much in my life, I don't think I can remember half of the houses that we lived in. But he was a really hard worker. He was cutting grass and picking fruit just to try and make a little bit of money. He said he bought his first guitar from Sears. How many people have we talked about there buying their first guitar from Sears? He said he paid $40 for that sucker. You know what? And I'll bet you if he thinks back on it, he wishes he still had that guitar. You know, but to think about that, a $40 guitar is something we've been emphasizing on this channel. You don't have to spend a lot of money to learn and have fun. If you make a lot of money, great, go buy your dream guitar. But when you're starting out, you don't have to spend that kind of money, because what are you going to do if you don't like it? You wasted all that money. You'll never get your money back out of it unless you have a '59 Les Paul. Then you spend $500,000 and you're free to play it. But he was in his first band, was called the Fabulous Castles. He was 14 years old. I could relate to that, you know, jamming with my friends at 14 years old. I can remember just like it's yesterday. Just amazing how quick time goes. Let's see here. 17. He snuck into a Rolling Stones concert. Can you imagine being 17 years old and taking a chance of getting arrested? I couldn't imagine doing that, boy. And it's his old man. He was a lot like mine. I guarantee you one thing. If he'd have gotten arrested, he wouldn't have wanted to do it again. And after high school, you know, he was in countless bands. I think, if I remember right, there were 7 or 8 different bands that he was in. And it's impossible to name them all. You'd have to sit there and try and memorize all that. It ain't going to happen. Excuse me. 73, he was recruited by Ronnie Montrose for the band Montrose. They did a couple albums before Montrose actually fired him, and I can imagine, as strong a person as Sammy is, that there was a lot of fighting going on in between those guys, and it was probably not going to turn out very good. 76, he went out on his own and did some solo albums. He did 4 albums doing 4 albums with Capitol Records before he moved on to Geffen Records. He released 2 more albums with Geffen Records. That would be Stanley Hampton and 3 Lock Box. Now, I know everybody's got to remember 3 Lock Box. 3 Lock Box, 3 Lock Box, yep. That's the one. 1984 came to VOA. We're talking MTV time here, people. I Can't Drive 55. That didn't go any higher than number 26. Can you imagine that song only hitting number 26? That tells you how much music was coming out in that time. And you know what's really funny about the 80s, not to get off topic here, but most of them artists were out in the 70s paying their dues, and then finally refined everything that they'd probably written 10 years before it came out, released it in the 80s, and bam, here we got a hit again. It's just amazing how much that really happened. If you really start looking at the artists that were in the early 80s there, I know everybody, the 80s. But you know what? There was a lot of hard work that made it to that point. I'm not going to criticize anybody. Hey, if you made it, good, God bless you. But yeah, I can't drive 55. That was when we first really got our first exposure to Sammy. For those of us that were watching MTV at that age, you know, and his Ferrari. The guy's got a pretty serious car collection too, if you want to start checking into that too, if you're a car guy out there. But 1987 was his first #1 hit. Can you believe it took him that long? To 1987 to get his first #1 hit, and that was a song called Give to Live. I remember the song clear as a bell. You know, it's 17, 18 years old in 1987. Wow. After that, things kind of moved really slow for Sammy. You know, he did one of those super groups with Neil Schon. It's just amazing how many people worked with Neil Schon as well. It's just amazing. You start researching that guy, and I think he worked with just about anybody to get out and play. But the name of that album, they only did one album. They only did the one album, and it was called Through the Fire. And the most notable song on it, I've listened to the whole thing. If you like Sammy, you'll fall in love with this album. The most notable song on that album was a cover of "Whiter Shade of Pale" from Procol Harum. They actually did a really good job at that. I was shocked. You wouldn't think that Sammy'd be able to do that much with his voice, but he actually did a really good job. I was impressed. 1985, we got Van Halen. Everybody's got their own opinions on Sammy going to Van Halen, but you know what? They did 4 multi-platinum albums together. You believe that? 4 multi-platinum. They didn't do anything really that good before that except for 1984 with David Lee Roth. Just amazing how well they did with Sammy Hagar. It just goes to show you with his abilities added to the band, with him being able to play guitar as well and being able to sing and write songs the way he did. I'm impressed of what they come up with. I didn't think there was that many until I looked that up. I didn't think they would do it. But anyway, there was an awful lot of drama between him and Eddie, and I watched an interview on him, and it kind of broke my heart as a Van Halen fan of the way that things broke off with Sammy leaving the band. And the condition that Eddie was in. You know, you think about your guitar heroes, and you never want to imagine them being that bad. But when they showed the video of him not being able to play because he was so wasted, it was just terrible. Just terrible to watch. Actually, I can't watch it again because it just ruins the image of what he was, even though you know that live fast, die young type lifestyle that he had. But sooner they was going to catch up to him. But they threw him out in 96. So they were together 11 years. That was a long time. In 96, he started doing various projects. It's hard to name them all because he was bouncing around so much. But he ended up setting up a band called Chickenfoot. Now, I don't know if any of you have heard that album before, but that's a rocker. You want to hear some metal type music? That's definitely some metal type music. I bought it. I fell in love with it right away. You know, it's a different world for Satriani. You never would imagine he was playing like that, but he did really good. And I know you can't discount Joe's abilities on a guitar. I mean, that guy he's amazing. It's just phenomenal to watch him play. You think, God, that looks easy, and then you try it, forget it. You can't do it. So anyway, let's see here. He's 2014. He formed a band called The Circle. Of course, he's got Michael Anthony with him. You know, it seems like he's for the music that he wants to play, he's probably the most solid bass player he's going to be able to find. He's had him basically with every band that he's put together since Van Halen. He's had Michael Anthony with him, and I think that's just cool. that he's carrying him along and helping him along with his total career too. You know, I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, the Circle. He said in an interview recently that they called it the Circle because it's basically taking him a full circle for his career. He's basically back doing Montrose type music and his early stuff, and it's good music. It's good music. They released a new album in 2019 called Space Between. I think you got to check it out. It's a pretty good album. Check out Rock and Roll Road Trip as well. I mean, he's interviewing just about everybody, which is cool. Because who else is going to go out there and do it in the way he does it? You know, he gets involved with them, and he knows probably most of them anyway. But check out that out. And I don't think you have to watch it on Access anymore. I have run across that on YouTube. So I did see the one this morning where he was talking to Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. It was a short video on YouTube, but I'm sure you can probably catch them all on there. It seems like everything is popping up on there. Check out his guitars. He has several signature guitars. Yamaha is actually making one for him. I didn't know that he was associated with them anymore, but I guess he is. He also has a couple of Gibson models. He has an Explorer as well as a Les Paul, both in red, of course. And I believe the headstock on the Les Paul, if I remember seeing that right, had the Chickenfoot logo on that one. But he's had a pretty serious career. He's definitely worth checking him out. I'm not saying that he's lived a clean life or anything like that. None of us are going to make it up through the pearly gates. You know, St. Peter isn't going to say, "Come on in, I've been waiting all my life for you." We all have a lot of things that we have to answer for when we finally come to that day. There's nobody that's perfect in this world. But check out Sammy. He's definitely worth checking out. I mean, if I ever get into Mexico, I want to at least go by to his bar, even though I don't drink, and see if you could run into the guy, because I think it'd be a hoot to just sit down and talk to him if you would, you know. But anyway, we should be reaching our destination here pretty soon on our road trip, my rock and roll road trip, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll share it with your friends and you'll push the like button. Stop by next week. We might have something different. You never know what we're going to have. I kind of like hearing my voice, so I might do another one of these. So anyway, I'm Kyler B. Thanks for stopping by and watching my video. I hope you'll stop by again next week. Take care now.
Woman who turned out to be a man, actually, a famous LA transvestite. And the rest, as they say, is rock history.